File permissions in PHP Beyond the Basics course. What brings up this topic when you're building a project? Security of files and folders. You don't want someone on the internet to become a user on your Unix system and to access your files or scripts maliciously. You don't want users to plant scripts on your server that can be executed by the web server itself or PHP. So those are the three things that bring this up. On a web server, you would want to create a separate directory for uploading files, and that directory would have looser permissions. You don't want to have looser permissions on the entire web directory. Another reason you might want to pay attention to this video is you want to figure out ways to not allow PHP and the web server or the file system to block you from doing certain script actions that you want to do. You might have a PHP script that you copied from somewhere else, or PHP commands which you think should work, and then they're trying to operate on the file system and they don't have permission to do what they want to do. Okay, now you see, I'm going to show you what file permissions look like. Okay, this is a file called myphpinfo.php, and it's in the folder SF sandbox in the media folder. Okay, so this file has owner permissions, has group permissions. Okay, yeah, these ones are the user, these ones are the group, and these ones are for other. Okay, read, write, execute for the owner, read, write, execute for the group, which is VBox, and no permissions for others. So the R, the W, the X. Okay, this is one way to represent the permissions on a file. Another way is called octal permissions notation. In octal, an R correlates to a 4, a W correlates to a 2, and X correlates to a 1. So read, write, execute, that would be 4 plus 2 plus 1, that's 7. So this part would be represented by a 7. So the three of them would be 7, 7, 0. That's what this would be in octal notation for file permissions. On my server, my user is Sam, S-A-M. The web server user is www-data. So those are the relevant users. The other relevant users are root and VBox SF. Root is actually the user of all my web files. I mean, he's the owner of the web files. The group, which is related to my web files, is VBox SF. Now, Sam and www-data, those two users are members of VBox SF. All permissions on my web files are like this: RWX for owner, RWX for group, and nothing for other. Okay, so being that... Okay, first of all, so far the only user who is accessing my web files is the web server, and that user is www-data. Now that user, www-data, is a member of VBox SF. Therefore, the web server has read, write, execute permissions on all the web scripts and files and directories in my web directories. The important question is, what access does my web server have to the web files and folders? And I just answered that. If I want to change the access to a file or directory for www-data user, then I just need to modify what permissions VBox SF has for a file or directory resource. In other words, whatever permissions on these files and directories that I give to VBox SF, they automatically are conveyed to the Apache user, which is www-data. The way that I knew who the web server user is from other course material, so it's in other videos. However, a good command to use to figure it out if you didn't know who it was is this one: PSAUX, pipe it to grep Apache. Now, previously, in the older days, you would have done grep HTTPD, but these days, the process, or they've replaced the word Apache with, and it's actually Apache too. Okay, so when I ran this command, first of all, PS, it tells you what all the processes that are running are. And the grep Apache basically filters out all the lines that are output. It selects the lines only that have the string Apache right here. Okay, so this is the output that I had. And you can see Sam is a user and www-data is a user. Root is also related to some of the processes. In the next video, we'll discuss how to change the user and permissions on a file. And actually, I won't need to change the user permissions. I may need to change the group permissions because that's how we're really controlling the access to these files.